Hi, I'm Troy from Studio 33 Guitar. Thanks for watching. So today we're looking at how to play guitar and make chords with just one finger. So if you're a brand new beginner, this is going to be a great lesson because within just a few minutes, you'll be able to play real music with using just one finger on your fretting hand. It's a really simple idea, but it's something that you can build on and expand until you're ready to play full chords. If you're interested in learning more about how to play guitar, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video, and also check out some of my previous videos on this channel. You can also visit my website, studio33guitar.com. There's lots more free lessons on there, as well as full courses about music theory and how to play guitar step by step. So let's jump right into the lesson. We'll zoom in on the neck and I'll show you how to play some really great sounding chords with just one finger. I'll also show you exactly how to play what I was playing in the intro. The first chord that we're going to learn is a simplified version of an E major chord. So a regular E major chord on guitar looks like this. Now that's a tricky one to play for a beginner because you're putting down 3 fingers and you're playing all 6 strings. So it's a little bit overwhelming when you're first learning how to play. So this version of the E chord is going to be a lot easier because we're only going to be using one finger and only 3 strings. So the 3 strings we're going to use are going to be the highest 3 strings on the guitar. Now we call these the highest because they're the highest pitch, even though they're the lowest as far as where they're situated on the neck. So all we're going to do for this is put our index finger on the first fret of that 3rd string up. And that's going to give us this note. Now the first thing that I'll point out if you're a brand new beginner is you want to make sure that when you're playing inside this fret area that you play close to the metal fret itself. You don't want to be too far back or you're going to get a buzzing sound like this. If you move your finger a little bit closer to the fret, it'll be easier to push down. It'll sound a lot cleaner. You'll notice the difference if I move my finger from one end to the other. So that's without adjusting the amount of pressure that I'm pushing down. It's just the location of where I'm pushing. So once we have that finger down, we're going to play the next 2 strings open. Now open just means we're not going to be putting any fingers on them at all. So that's going to sound like this. Now the other important thing here is with this finger, you need to make sure that you're curling it around so that you're playing with your fingertip so that it stays out of the way of that next string. If your finger is laying too flat, it's going to sound like this. So if you bring your finger around, you might have to push your wrist forward a little bit, and also have a look at your thumb. If your thumb is too high up on the neck, it's going to make it harder for you to bring that finger around. So bring the thumb down and push the wrist out a little bit, and you should be able to get a good curl around to that finger. If we play all 3 of those strings together and just strum through, that gives us an E major chord. Or we can play it individually and pick those strings. You can also pick those strings down and then back up again. And that's similar to what I was doing in the intro. And now we're going to move on to the second chord. And these 2 chords sound really great together. And all we're going to do for this, for now, is move our index finger up. So this is up the neck, this is down the neck. So we're going to move it up the neck on the same string, just 1 more fret. Now again, when we do that, we want to come close to that metal piece there. So that one sounds like this. And then the next 2 strings still open. And again, we're keeping that curl to the finger so that we're not getting in the way of those next 2 strings. Now, if we strum those 3 together, we have that sound, or again, we can pick them. Now there's different ways that you can think about that chord as far as what you would call it, but for this lesson we're going to call that an A chord. So now we're going to combine those 2 chords We're going to start with that E chord. And then all we're going to do is move that index finger up 1 fret and play the same 3 strings. And that gives us our A chord. And then back again. Back up to the A. Now we could also strum that straight through. So you can experiment that, play around with it. You can do different timing if you wanted to play each chord with 4 strums or just 2 strums or 8 strums. You can mix that up and decide how you want it to sound. Now once you're able to play those 2 chords without any trouble, we're going to make it just a little bit more complicated by adding a second finger. Now with this second finger, we're going to be playing the same notes, but it's just going to help you to build some strength and dexterity in your fingers. So let's zoom in and take a look at that. So we'll start out with our index finger on that same spot, the 1st fret on that 3rd string up. And now instead of sliding that index finger over, we're going to use our middle finger to push down that note. So we're going to keep that index finger where it is. You don't need to lift it off when you put the middle finger down. And in fact, that will help you to push down on the string because now you're going to have 2 fingers pushing on that same string instead of 1. So when you put that middle finger down, you don't want to lift the index finger off. You want to leave the index finger down. And that's going to look like this. Now once you have that down, now you're going to work on the ring finger. So we're going to use the index finger and then the ring finger in that same spot that we were just putting the middle finger. So that's going to look like this. So again for that, we're not lifting the index finger off when we put the ring finger down. And now we're going to do exactly the same thing, except we're going to use the pinky finger. So this is going to be a little bit trickier. You're going to have to scrunch your fingers up a little bit. And also the pinky is a little bit weaker, so it's going to be a little bit trickier, but let's give that a try. Now the purpose of that really is just to help you to build the strength and dexterity in your fingers. If you were actually going to play this, you would probably just use your middle finger because that would be the most convenient one to use because it's right there. But in this, we're using it as more of an exercise to help you to build that strength and dexterity. Now, as far as what I was playing in the intro, it's exactly what we were just doing, but we're just going through each note down and back up again, moving up to the next chord and doing the same thing. So if we were to play that with just 1 finger, that would look like this. You can play around with the pattern here if you wanted to do this a little bit faster or a little bit slower, or if you wanted to play each note more than once, or if you wanted to play each chord a shorter amount of time. So for example, you could play through the sequence once, move up to the next chord, play the sequence, and then back to the first. That would sound like this. Or you could play the note that your finger is on and then alternate those higher notes, and that would sound like this. And you could also strum those chords like this. Or a little bit of a fancier strum when you're ready for it. So as you can see, there's a lot of different options that you can do with just those 2 chords. This is a really simple way to get you playing music right away. Now, once you're comfortable playing what we just learned, I would encourage you to go to one of the videos that I have on the screen now for the next step. Thanks for watching today. We'll see you in the next lesson.